Hi everyone, and welcome to Exploring the Build. If you've just found this place, then welcome. And if you're returning, I am glad to have you back. I'm Alex, and this is my channel where we explore and theorycraft different character builds for Dungeons & Dragons. Today, we are continuing our Marvel character builds with Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. This is another requested character build from Barn Jake, who had requested our original Cyclops 2014 build. Barn wanted to see Cyclops redone using 2024 rules, and so that's exactly what we're going to do today. Now, to go over the concept of Cyclops and who he/Scott Summers is, well, really, he's the big blue Boy Scout, the de facto leader of the X-Men when Professor X isn't around, an inspiring leader, capable tactician, and very competent martial artist, not to mention his actual superpowers of unleashing optic beams, or also known as concussive blasts. I said that we have previously done a 2014 version of Cyclops. Honestly, Cyclops has been done quite a bit. In most other builds that tried to recreate Cyclops, he was a warlock monk, using warlock with Eldritch Blast to recreate his optic beams, and monk for that martial arts style. What I did in my 2014 build was actually go with Scribe Wizard. Scribe Wizard allowed us to swap the damage types of different spells to force damage, meaning we could pick any line spell, cone spell, or ranged attack spell we wanted, change it to force damage, and it would be like a powerful optic beam. For his martial arts, I took a small dip into fighter in order to get the unarmed fighting style, along with action surge, Battle Master subclass to throw out some tactical maneuvers or rallies, and also pick up a feat while we were at it. We had a lot of feats that we really wanted, including Gift of the Gem Dragon for a reaction, force-based retaliation ability to act as us hitting back with an optic beam against an enemy who hit us. And then I took the Dragonlance specific feats, Knight of the Crown and Knight of the Rose, in order to give us more tactical rallies that could either command allies to attack or buff allies with temporary hit points. So how does a 2024 version of Cyclops stack up to that? Technically, we could just use backwards compatibility to keep with that same build. But since we are looking at a new rule set, I want to try a fresh approach. One that actually kind of goes back to the roots of Cyclops being a warlock who throws out a lot of Eldritch Blasts. So, with all that said, let's jump into our next Marvel build of recreating Cyclops. Starting the build in character creation with our origin, we are a human. We are an X-Men who is a human with the X gene, like our last Marvel build, Jean Grey. With human, we get an extra origin feat, and for that feat, we're going to take Alert. Alert is our first leadership ability, because not only does it boost our own initiative by adding our proficiency to our initiative rolls, it also lets us swap our initiatives with one of our fellow party members. So we can be a straight up leader of the team by allowing us to tactically pick who should be going first. Maybe it is the caster who's going to throw out some big bomb of a spell. Maybe we want to swap with a healer so that way they can go later and undo the damage that's been done by the enemies, or any other combination of swapping initiatives with another teammate. For our background, I will say that we pick a background from a previous source book, or make our own custom background with the new 2024 DMG rules, and this way we can pick whatever background we would like to recreate for Scott, be it when he's just discovering his powers, starting to attend Professor X's school, or as a full-fledged member of the X-Men and a professor at that school. By doing this, we can pick the stat boosts that we want, as well as the origin feat of our choice. And we're definitely going to go with Tavern Brawler in order to start down the path of that martial arts. Though, admittedly, one thing you could do is still go back to the Dragonlance specific feats, grab the background Knight of Solamnia in order to grab the Squire of Solamnia feat. That is a prerequisite for the other Knight of feats later on. I'm not going to do that with this build as presented though, because, well, we are doing a fresh look, but also because there are so many other feats that we're actually going to want on this build. So for right now, we're ignoring it, but if you really like those Dragonlance feats, go right ahead and take them. Now for our stats, we're going to want to improve our Charisma by +2, since we're going back to that Eldritch Blast style of Optic Beam, and we're going to want to improve our Dexterity by +1. This will give us the following array of ability scores: 8 Strength, 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, 8 Intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 17 charisma. This might not be an entirely accurate stat line for Scott, but we're doing the best we can with what we have. And personally, I prefer to flavor Scott's physicality and just how ripped he is through his constitution and dexterity rather than just raw strength, since we aren't really going to want to be doing a whole lot with our strength anyways. Jumping into the level breakdown now, starting with level 1, we are of course going to be a warlock. Thematically, it's kind of an odd choice for a character that is an X-Men and gets their powers through their DNA to be gaining their powers from a patron, but we'll say that our patron in this case is just teaching us about our powers, not that we directly get them from them. Or you could say that your patron is the X gene. It's totally up to you. Either way, we are starting as a warlock and we are picking up Eldritch Blast for our optic beams, of course, and we're grabbing our first invocation, which we will make Armor of Shadows. Really, this is just going to be flavored as an unarmored defense more than anything else, but we definitely want it for a modest AC. Going up to level 2, we're going to gain 2 more invocations, one of which is of course Agonizing Blast, which we put onto Eldritch Blast so we can unleash more powerful optic beams. But the second one is going to be Pact of the Chain. Pact of the Chain is going to let us summon a familiar, and that familiar, while it is going to have the stat block of a sprite, is actually going to be our team up, our loving wife, Jean Grey. The sprite isn't going to be Jean in full, but more like a psionic projection of Jean. And the reason I like this is because of the fact that the sprite can go invisible, has heart sense, and has the enchanting bow attack. Even though all 3 of these abilities are meant to feel more fey in nature, they really feel pretty psionic. The enchanting bow is the big one. It is an attack that deals 1 damage, but it automatically charms any enemy that it hits. We're not going to be using it too often for right now, but for those times when we do want to charm an enemy and essentially mind control them or telepathically manipulate them, we can take the attack action, replace our attack with one from our sprite or Jean, thanks to the Pact of the Chain invocation, hopefully hitting and automatically charming them. No save required. Going up to level 3, we're going to take a pause on Warlock to go focus on more of our leadership abilities. We do this by jumping over to Bard. Bard gives us Bardic Inspiration, which is a really nice bonus action leadership ability that we can give out to our allies, of course, allowing us to buff them just in general, or if we could buff our Jean summon in order to have that enchanting bow be more likely to hit when we need it to. At level 4, we're going to go up to Bard 2. This gives us Jack of all trades as well as expertise. We probably want to have picked up the athletics skill at some point in time, or acrobatics, or maybe even both, in order to reflect Cyclops' physicality. At level 5, we're going to go up to Bard 3, picking up our Bardic subclass, and we are going to be a Dance Bard.
No, all right. I know that sounds bad.
So here's the thing about Dance Bard. On its own, it's moderately interesting. You can do some neat things with it, but it's not like a full monk replacement or a Gish character since you don't gain extra attack. So really, you're still primarily focused on casting spells while throwing out some unarmed strikes every now and then. As a multi-class character though, especially a multi-class character who really only cares about launching Eldritch Blasts, this is perfect for us. It can completely replace that monk requirement, meaning we don't need a high dexterity and high wisdom in order to jump over to this extra class. It offers us a lot more synergy. First of all, we have unarmored defense for real now, where we can have our AC equal 10 plus dexterity plus charisma. So we no longer need mage armor, and we can swap that invocation at our next warlock level. We also have agile strikes, which says that anytime we expend a use of bardic inspiration as either an action, a bonus action, or as a reaction, we can make an unarmed strike with that spending of bardic inspiration. And that is really neat. We can Eldritch Blast an enemy from range, move up, bardic inspiration to aid a teammate or even our Jean Grey sprite summon, and then deliver an unarmed strike all within the same turn. That is a lot of action economy of stuff that we want to do. We also get the feature Bardic Damage, which says that instead of strength for our unarmed strikes, we can use our dexterity, just like a monk would. Our unarmed strikes damage will scale with our Bardic Inspiration die. So now, instead of being the D4 from Tavern Brawler, it's a D6, and we can still re-roll ones thanks to Tavern Brawler. Level 6, we're going to go to Bard 4 to get our first feat, and we're going to cap off our Charisma by grabbing Spell Sniper. Spell Sniper is also crucial for our Optic Beam / Eldritch Blast gameplay. Not only does it extend the range of those Eldritch Blast optic beams, also lets us cast them in melee without any penalty. So now there's no need to blast first, walk up, and then Bardic Inspiration / Unarmed Strike. We can do it all while within 5 feet of a target. Not to mention, it also lets us ignore cover if any enemy is trying to hide behind cover when we just look at them. Going up to level 7, we're going to be a Warlock 3 now, and we're going to gain our Warlock subclass. Before I talk about that, we also can swap out one of our invocations, so we will swap Armor of Shadows for Lessons of the First Ones in order to grab an extra Origin feat, which will be Tough, so that way we can boost our hit points and become even more robust, reflecting that physical training that Cyclops has. Now, as far as that subclass goes, I think there are 2 solid options. Option 1 is a little more selfish, option 2 is a little more team-based. Option 1 is Fiend Warlock. Fiend Warlock is going to synergize better in the sense that it's not going to eat up our bonus action in any way, and it will give us more durability, given that any time we defeat an enemy or an enemy within 10 feet of us is defeated, we gain temporary hit points. On the other hand, Celestial Warlock, with their Healing Light ability, allows us to have a bonus action heal that we can dish out to ourselves or our teammates. Of course, we would reflavor it to be more of like an inspirational rally. So now we're not just improving our allies' skills and attack rolls and saving throws with Bardic Inspiration, we're also able to heal them without actually spending a spell slot. Personally, I would go for Celestial Warlock, but you pick whichever one feels right to you. Level 8, we are a Warlock 4, and here we gain yet another feat. Now there are actually 2 feats I would suggest here. Number 1, Gift of the Gem Dragon. Going back to what we did in 2014, Gift of the Gem Dragon will still increase our Charisma, which is what we want to do anyways, plus giving us a reaction Retaliate ability that deals force damage is just so tempting to pick up, given that it feels like Scott is unleashing a smaller optic beam while being attacked. Given that it makes us feel like we are really Cyclops using those optic beams in unique and flavorful ways in the middle of combat. We didn't want to do Gift of the Gem Dragon though and wanted to focus even more onto that leadership aspect of him, then Inspiring Leader is of course the way to go. It's tried and true, and now in 2024 it increases our charisma as well, so there's really no reason not to take it. Whichever one we don't take here we'll probably pick up later in the build, but the choice is totally up to you. At level 9 we're going to go up to Bard 5, so we have 3rd level spells. We probably only want to be actually casting a full leveled spell if it is healing as like another leadership ability, or if it deals force damage or maybe thunder damage and can be flavored as a concussive beam. Though really, that's a self-imposed restriction. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. The real important things that we get from being a Bard 5 though are our Bardic Inspiration die size scales up to D8, so our unarmed strikes are going to deal a D8 now as well. And we get all our Bardic Inspiration back on a short rest, meaning all of those bonus action unarmed strikes are also coming back on a short rest. And having more uses of those is really fun. Finally, at level 10, we're going to go up to Bard 6, and we get quite a lot from being a Bard 6. Some pretty good stuff too. We gain Tandem Footwork and Inspiring Movement. Tandem Footwork is a really nice leadership ability that pairs very well with Alert, because it says that when we roll initiative, we can spend 1 Bardic Inspiration in order to increase our initiative and the initiative of all allies within 30 feet of us by a number equal to the amount rolled. That is a big group initiative boost, making sure that we will always go first. To me, my X-Men. Inspiring Movement, on the other hand, is our first reaction Bardic Inspiration ability. When an enemy we can see ends their turn within 5 feet of us, we can use our reaction to spend a Bardic Inspiration die, move up to half our speed, and then choose one ally within 30 feet of us to do the same. Neither of these moves provoke opportunity attacks, and since we're spending a Bardic Inspiration die as part of our reaction, we can also do an unarmed strike before we leave. Technically, we actually might be able to do it after as well, given that the timing on that unarmed strike isn't super clearly defined. Is just part of the reaction. It doesn't specifically have to be before or after. Either way, this is another nice ability that synergizes with what we want to do while also adding a nice tactical element. Beyond that, that's the build. Now, what would this build look like if we were to take it past 10? Well, immediately at level 11, we're going to go to Warlock 5 to get 2 more invocations, as well as 3rd level Warlock spell slots and spells. With those invocations though, we're going to buff Eldritch Blast some more by applying either Repelling Blast or Eldritch Spear. We probably have enough range being brought in from Spell Sniper, so Repelling Blast feels a little bit more appropriate, especially since it can let us tactically push enemies around the battlefield with our optic beams. But the other invocation we want to grab is Investiture of the Chain. Investiture of the Chain buffs our Pact of the Chain summon, so now our Jean Grey ally no longer requires us to take the attack action in order to have her attack and use Enchanting Bow. Instead, we can bonus action command, or ask politely, for Jean to use that Psychic Assault attack on an enemy, hopefully dealing 1 whole damage and charming them. Now beyond that, I would continue up to do a 12-8 or maybe 16-4 split, with Bard actually being the lead class here. 12-8 breakdown is an easy way to get 2 epic boons while increasing the power of both classes. And if you wanted 2 epic boons, I'd say pick whichever you feel fit Cyclops the most. But if you're okay with just 1 epic boon, or going back and holding off on Warlock 4 until the very end of the build, which would take a long time, then technically 16-4 works as well. The reason I would say 16-4, and specifically as a Bard 16, is because we could pick up Leading Evasion. Leading Evasion is the Dance Bard capstone, and it is very good. It is just the evasion feature. You can give its benefits to any creature within 5 feet of you. Group up with all your X-Men and dodge out of the way of that Meteor M that Magneto sends crashing down towards you. But besides that, really the last thing to mention are some other feat options. See, we're going to gain 5 feats total. We've got 2 of them already, so that leaves 3 open, and 1 to 2 of those is probably reserved for epic boons. Other options for general feats that I really want to mention though are Athlete and Grappler. Both of these can increase our dexterity and allow us to focus more on the physical side of Cyclops and that sheer athleticism that he has. He is ripped after all, right? Besides that though, we have everything we could ask for as a 2024 version of Cyclops. We've got leadership abilities, we've got unarmed strikes, and we've got optic beams. Not to mention, we're also able to get some help from our team up with Jean Grey, aka Phoenix, when we need it. Thank you so much for coming on the journey with me, and I hope to see you in the next one.